Some of it I don't talk about because I have a fair amount of inside information, and I'm just watchful about not getting near the line.
What do you mean by inside information?
I mean information that I might have gotten from, I'm characterizing it carefully, that I might have gotten from government agencies that are clients, or that I might have gotten because clients were implicated. Like I learned today, for example, this morning on the way over here, that I'm in the Epstein file.
3 million documents, thousands of emails, and a blackmail operation so sophisticated, so protected, that a sitting U.S. attorney gave an immunity deal to people whose names were never even written down. The man sitting across from Stephen Bartlett this morning found out on the way to the studio that his own name is in the Epstein files, not because he did anything wrong, because someone, years ago, sent Epstein an article he wrote. He's going to tell you how the operation worked, who funded it, which government he believes ran it, and why the FBI photographed the evidence and left it there for 6 days before it disappeared. If you've been waiting for someone to explain this clearly, without hysteria and without spin, this is that video. Subscribe before you watch. Channels that cover this subject have a habit of disappearing from recommendations.
One story, without naming the person, of course. He goes to meet with Epstein in New York to ask for money for a charity. And Epstein is perceived as this big billionaire, which he was not, by the way, I'll tell you in a second. And Epstein is in a robe, and they're across the desk just like you and I are. And Epstein says, hey, they're finishing the meeting. He says, hey, I'm going to get a massage, hence my robe. You want to get a massage? And through the hallway, my friend can see a massage table and a room and a very cute girl who's the massage therapist, right, dressed like a massage therapist. And so he happened to say no. In fact, interestingly, he happens to not like massage, which is itself, you know, a lot of people would say yes and might even think it would improve my relationship with this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, who I perceive as this rich guy that I'm trying to get money from my charity. Had that happened, what a different world.
3 words that change everything. This wasn't opportunism, it was an update to an operational intelligence program. Someone decided, at some point, that audio was necessary, and installed it.
Don't even think about their age, but turns out to be 17, and you are in a world of trouble for the rest of your life. And that's a big piece of what was going on with Epstein, with cameras in that apartment in New York, and eventually audio, cameras and eventually audio at the island.
At least one government. He is being deliberately imprecise, and we'll get to the name shortly.
Billionaire, he wasn't a billionaire. For one thing, his earning path is highly suspect. I'll first tell you what he was. What he was is a construct. He's a created construct. Money, wealth, private jet, private island, fun, not married, young girls, lots of things. So he was a construct. The money, $500 million of money came from Les Wexner, who's a wealthy guy who owned, I don't know what he's doing now, Victoria's Secret, big donator to the state of Israel. And $500 million was transferred to Epstein along with power of attorney to use it and invest it in the ways he saw fit. Quite an unusual, I'm mildly wealthy, but I'm not sending you $500 million. I'll tell
500 million transferred with full power of attorney. This is not an investment. It's infrastructure financing. The island, the apartment in New York, the private jet, the cameras, all of it was paid for with third-party money, funneled through a man the world believed to be a billionaire. He wasn't.
But, what was actually going on, why in the world would anybody say, well, there are national security implications to some of this content? That's why some things are redacted. What would that be? Why would the prosecutor who prosecuted him in Florida and provided one of the most unusual plea bargain deals in world history, and certainly unique in American history, which is, imagine I've got you, I'm a U.S. attorney, I've got you on some crime, and you say, okay, I'm going to plead guilty, I'm going to serve my time, but please let my accountant go.
Unnamed. Not indicted by name, simply left unnamed. This is not normal legal procedure. It is a deliberately constructed smokescreen. It could be 50 people, it could be 75. No one knows. And the agreement was made exactly that way.
The guy who gave that sweetheart deal became the Secretary of Labor. He said, I was told he belonged to intelligence.
The U.S. Secretary of Labor, confirming, under pressure from Congress, that he was instructed to protect Epstein because he belonged to intelligence. This is not a theory. It is official testimony.
But I won't be the first guest, Stephen, that you've had that says that it was an intelligence operation. Why the U.S. government is reluctant to be more transparent, some of it is national security, some of it is, let's imagine, an ally of ours is involved in that operation. So there's a reluctance and there's a question, it's a little bit like UFOs, could the public handle it, is the question that's always asked in these cases. Meaning, could the public handle it if, for example, the UK was running an intelligence operation inside the United States to control senators and congressmen and powerful executives and powerful figures and scientists? Could we handle it? Could the US public handle it? My take personally, absolutely yes.
So you believe that he was an intelligence asset, and it sounds like you believe he was an intelligence asset potentially by a US ally.
Yes.
So who is that ally?
Israel.
Ghislaine Maxwell's father had a state funeral in Israel. All living heads of Mossad were in attendance. The eulogy included the words, "He did things for Israel that the world will never know." Ghislaine grew up as the daughter of that man, and then spent years alongside Jeffrey Epstein.
They went to execute a search warrant at that apartment after his more recent arrest. They found and even photographed a bunch of CD-ROMs or discs of some kind that were labeled, but they didn't take them. They said, we'll get a warrant and we'll be back for those. And they came back after a mere 6 days, and it was all gone.
6 days. The FBI photographed the drives, left, returned 6 days later. Everything was gone. In any other case in American history, this would be the headline of the century. In the Epstein case,
the other version is far better, which is even alluded to in some of the now released material, which is he calls and he says, Stephen, I've got terrible news. Do you remember you had that massage from Cindy? You know, that girl, Cindy? Oh, yeah, I remember. Well, she recorded something. She had something in her bag. She made a recording. And I got worse news, Stephen. The girl's 16 and a half. And now, by the way, you are stomach drops, diarrhea. You are in a world of stress right now, just hearing that. And he, instead of being your blackmailer, becomes your rescuer. He says, I can handle it, I can handle it, I can handle it. She's got the recordings. I don't know where they are, but I can handle it, I can handle it, I can handle it. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. And he owns you now forever.
That's the operational genius of the trap. Epstein never directly threatened anyone. He became the savior of the problem he himself had created. The victim became eternally indebted to the very blackmailer. And from that moment on, they did whatever was asked. A senator, a congressman, a CEO, he owned them forever. Everything you just watched is on the record. Congressional testimony, FBI documentation, public statements. None of it is the lead story on any major network tonight. If you think that's a problem, share this video, not for the algorithm, because the people who want this buried are counting on you not to. Leave one word in the comments. What do you think happens to the names that are still redacted, released, buried, or classified forever? Subscribe. The next video goes deeper into the financial trail and what the remaining redacted files are likely to contain. Like the video, it's the only signal this platform has that this conversation is worth having. The mainstream media had this story for 20 years. They chose not to run it. We're running it.